your wife Linda is here, is that right?
Yes.
And, alrighty. Now, what about visiting Rotarians? Are there any here from other Rotary clubs? Any papers? Okay, well, we'll move on. Before we get to the program, I do think, given the strife in the world, I think it's important to kind of keep in mind how blessed we are. And so without further ado, just ask folks to maybe spend 15 or 20 seconds here thinking a little bit about how lucky we are that we're here today with each other. And hope that all the strife everywhere in the world sort of settles out, and that diplomacy once again is more effective than war as a resolution to these conflicts. All right, thanks. I also want to thank the folks here at the Sanjar Center for another wonderful day. Looks like a great venue, a great weather, and they're certainly wonderful hosts, so thanks for that. And Marcel's Catering for our food, which most of us are still eating, so we can't quite vote on that, but at least their environmental stewardship. Using washable rather than disposable utensils. So thank you, Marcel. All right, and now let's get to the fun part of our meeting. So the four-way test. Well, couldn't quite figure out how to do this, but I think it was said last week that this is supposed to be a little bit of an inspirational section. So I'm going to blend this with a little bit of recent sports trivia. For those of you who have been watching the World Series, Tommy Pham is a journeyman player for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was playing in his first World Series game after about 16 years in the majors. And the truth is that Chance had an opportunity to become the first player in history ever to go 5 for 5 in at-bats during a World Series game. And this was, I think, the second game of the series. But to be fair, Tommy gave his at-bat to a teammate, Jace Peterson, who, like him, was a journeyman and had never had an opportunity to play in a World Series game before. Jace was still sitting on the bench, and Tommy said, "Coach, why don't you let him bat for me, because I'm not sure he'll get up to bat again in the World Series." The coach said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah, go ahead and do it." So it demonstrated goodwill, because it has generated additional positive chemistry for his team, which won the game. Unfortunately, it didn't win the series if you're a Diamondback fan, but at least it was fun to watch. And finally, it was beneficial. His team won the game, Tommy's teammate played, Pham happily joined a group of 14 other players going 4 for 4 in a World Series game. So he wasn't the one who went 5 for 5, but 4 for 4 is not bad, and his active kindness towards one of his friends, I think, was respected throughout the sports world. So, hear it for Tommy Pham and people like that. Okay, so just a few more things about, before I turn this over. After I retired, or around the time I retired, I was inducted into the Order of the Longleaf Pine, which only goes to show that it's really not what you know, but who you know, because I had the opportunity to know a few important people around the state at the time, and so they nominated me and I was inducted. It's actually the highest civilian honor within the state. It comes with a plaque signed by the governor, and so I was really quite tickled to get it. Part of it also includes a toast, which you are encouraged during times like this to use for august ceremonies such as our Friday lunches. And since 1963, the governors have reserved the highest honor, the Order of Longleaf Pine, for persons who made significant contributions to the state and their communities through their exemplary service and exceptional accomplishments. Recipients have included Coretta Scott King, Dale Earnhardt, Tammy Wynette, William Rehnquist, Oprah Winfrey, Andy Griffiths, Dean Smith, Coach K, and about 21,000 other notable parties, including yours truly. And on May 21st, the North Carolina General Assembly adopted an official state toast, which comes from a poem entitled The Old North State, written by Lenora Montero Martin in 1904. As a 2019 inductee, I'm encouraged to use this toast during important ceremonies like this one. So here is the first stanza. This is the toast as I learned it. The poem is actually 4 stanzas, and one iteration actually has 2 stanzas as a toast, but we'll leave it at 1 for today's purposes. So here's the land of the longleaf pine, the summer land where the sun doth shine, where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. Here's to down home, the old North State. And here, the star of this show is the longleaf pine. Well, it turns out the longleaf pine is called a keystone species. The agricultural focus of the poem, this keystone species, this longleaf pine, is termed the keystone species, a term coined by the late ecologist Robert Payne to describe a species whose role is to maintain balance in an ecosystem. And in the forests of the American Southeast, the longleaf pine is a keystone species because it promotes fire in a fire-dependent ecosystem. Suffused with flammable oils, its needles catch fire and drop to the ocean floor, to the forest floor rather, where the fire spreads from dried pine straw to the grassy and herbaceous layer. Once the fire has cleared the scrub, brush, and hardwood saplings that would otherwise outcompete the longleaf, the seeds germinate, and the taproots reach deep into the ground, oftentimes as thick as the trunk itself, 15 or more feet down into the soil. These taproots protect the tree from violent storms and damaging winds that blow in from the Gulf and the Atlantic Ocean. They're a strong taproot. It's the beginning of a healthy tree, and a healthy tree is a central part of an important ecosystem. Okay. Now, the last couple of slides are our fun slides, since we have to enjoy this as well. All right, here you go. The following story comes from an NPR broadcast that I heard, and I thought that since this was Halloween week, it was important to go ahead and enjoy this. You'll notice the orange lettering here on the bottom of this. The story comes from a broadcast, All Things Considered, with Sasha Pfeiffer and Mary Louise Kelly on October 10th as the hosts. Travis Ginger, as shown here, is a horticulture teacher from Anoka, Minnesota, who grows giant pumpkins in his spare time. And as he says, he sometimes has to water these things 15 times a day. Don't know how often he fertilizes them. It's not a pretty pumpkin, but it's a big pumpkin. And it turns out that last October, Ginger set the record for the largest pumpkin ever grown in North America. Well, this year, he exceeded it and captured the top prize at the 50th Annual World Championship Pumpkin Playoff in Half Moon Bay, California. And this is actually 200 pounds bigger than last year's pumpkin. So quite a feat. Now, I'm going to ask for a show of hands for people to give me some estimate of what they think this pumpkin weighs. So how many people think this pumpkin is 500 pounds or less? How about 1,000 pounds or less? Don't be shy now. Come on. All right. How about 1,500 or less? How about 2,000 or less? How many think this weighs more than 2,000 pounds? Oh, now wait a minute. Some people must have voted twice. All right. Well, here we go. 2,749 pounds for Travis's pumpkin this year. So quite impressive. And,
a lot of pumpkin pie, I guess.
How much did it cost to get it to California?
well, that's an important question. That wasn't part of it. It turns out that Travis got $20,000 for having the business pumpkin and $25,000 for having the world record pumpkin. So he made $45,000 minus whatever it cost for him to tow this puppy from Anoka to Half Moon Bay. Okay, and so our last slide is, as they said in the telecast, sometimes you just got to gourd big or gourd home. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike Clayton. Thank you.
Folks, we got 2 people parked, not in designated parking spaces. A Honda CBR with Simplified as a license plate. Can you please move it? And also a gray Honda CRV parked right next to it. Can you please move it? Please remember, if this doesn't have a parking space, don't park there, guys. If we lose this additional parking here, we're going to be in bad shape. So if those are your 2 vehicles, please go move them now. Okay?
It's a fire marshal.
Yeah, the fire marshal's calling us. So everybody got that?
What was the first one?
The first one is the Simplified license plate.
It's on the grass.
Oh, it's in blocking where the fire marshal said it's a, looks like a brown tan Honda CRV license plate Simplified. And then the part right next to it is a silver Honda CRV. Must be something with these Hondas. Please go move them immediately and do not park anywhere. There's not a parking space, okay? We got 3 parking lots to park in. Let's try to use them. We don't want to get kicked out of here, okay? Thank you.
That's fire marshal.
Yeah, well, fire marshal, he's a big guy. A couple more things. Hey, how is everybody today? Start having a bad day. Great dinner, lunch today, wasn't it, folks? Yeah. All right, see you have real silverware today. Do not throw it away. There will be a silverware bin back there. Please deposit it and help us out with that today. Also, we have our holiday party coming up next month, December 14th at the Carolina Club. We'll have a sign-up sheet on coming around for the non-technical folks like myself. We'll also have on our website a link, and then we'll send out a mass email with a link to sign up for the holiday party. It is at the Carolina Club this year. Should be lots of fun. Looking forward to everybody coming. The cost is $75 for a single, $140 for a couple. This will include drink tickets, appetizers, food, dessert, and lots of fun. Let's see, anything else? Ed Loudermilk has a couple things about bike night, and then we'll move on with their speaker who I'm dying to hear tell me about how high the barriers for entry are in Chapel Hill.
I'm bringing this chair with me so I can get my 6-week-old knee up here. Bike night. And I've got to get some history. We used to have a bike night where we would buy bikes and put them together and had a big time at the Legion Hut, but COVID stopped that. So what we're doing this year and last year, we're just playing buying assembled bikes. And they're going to President's House, which is a function of a service league. They have 90 families identified, and they need volunteers. I've got the how to sign up thing. It's a web HTTP, and I'm going to send it to our editor, who will hopefully send it out. And then you click on that, and you can volunteer at Christmas House. You need all the help they can get. Now, getting the bikes, the good people at the bicycle chain have given us an unbelievable deal, and we're going to load 40 bikes onto trucks November 15 at the bicycle chain on Franklin Street. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Walker Brown, bless him, we couldn't do it without him. He's putting all those bikes on his trucks, taking them and holding them for us until we give them back to Christmas House on December the 1st at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to put 2 sign-up sheets over here by the badge box, as I don't think we can pass it around. And what did I leave out? Also, a neighborhood has been identified out in Orange County from the New Oak Elementary School, and we're taking some bikes to them to present them in their neighborhood. And a couple guys to go with us to unload bikes off the truck would be good. If someone's got a pickup truck, that would be helpful too. So Christmas House and sign-up sheet, and we'll send it out in your bulletin how to sign up there.
Here, get your clip. Oh, this one.
Oh.
All right, thanks, Ed. Again, bike night we've been doing a long time. It's changed a lot, but Ed has done a heck of a job with this. I'm going to get Jennifer Player to come up now and introduce what I think should be a tremendous program. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I noticed that Our speaker today knows a lot of folks in the room, so many of you probably recognize him already. This is Aaron Nelson, who's the president of the Chamber for Greater Chapel Hill Carrboro. You'll see on Aaron's bio that he has deep Chapel Hill roots, having spent part of his childhood in Chapel Hill. Both of his parents were teachers at UNC. He was student body president at UNC, worked, I think, under Chancellor Hooker, if I'm right about that, before joining the Chamber. His wife is with Chapel Hill Carrboro Schools. He has a son who's a student at UNC, and his daughter, God bless her, is in high school and hopefully will also be a Tar Heel. She's got a long legacy to live up to. I've had the privilege of working with Aaron on affordable housing issues in the Orange County community for more than 9 years, and now get to see his dedication firsthand as a member of the Chamber Board of Directors. There is no one who is more dedicated to the success of this community than Aaron, and also no one, arguably, who is more knowledgeable about what it takes to make sure that people in this community are thriving. So with that, please welcome Aaron Nelson.
That gave me all the warm feels. Thank you.
I think we don't play this one straight.
Thanks, guys. Hello. It is good to see so many friends. I see former board members out there. We have John Garman, who volunteered at the Chamber for years. Showed up one day and said, I'm a retired Chamber CEO, and I'd like to come volunteer for you for, I think it was 2.5, 3 years. Went to visit every member we had, one at a time, interviewing them on what they liked about the Chamber, what we could do to be helpful for them. Y'all, the presentation I'm going to give is data heavy, a lot of information. So for those with the side slides, it's maybe easier to look that way. Nothing interesting is going to be going up here other than the narration of what's going on out there. Jennifer, thank you for that very kind introduction. It's a real pleasure to work with you. I'm very glad that you are now on the Chamber Board, and I see some other Chamber Board members here. Jim Hefner, that is the kindest write-up, longest write-up I've ever seen about myself. I will bring it home to my family, who has been wondering for a long time what the hell I do. And it's hard to explain Chamber life. We went to college to be one, but I'm excited to be here before you all to share some information about our community with a hard talking stop, I'm told, at 1:40, which will then enable you all to ask some questions. The Chamber has a data book that we produced for the community for the last 16 years. You can find it on our website. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a link to it. It's 430 data points about our community, social, environmental, economic, and I'm happy to share some of them here with you all today. Some of what I'm going to do is a little bit of myth busting. There's stories we tell about this community that just aren't true. And we repeat them, and even in the face of evidence, we will tell them it's true, right? For example, that drive-thrus are illegal in Chapel Hill. We keep telling people that they're not illegal. In fact, our Dunkin' Donuts is going to get one. The reason they don't have one is they didn't ask for one when they first came. They thought it'd be easier to do it that way. They regret it, and they're going to get themselves a drive-thru. Those are some things. I'll share some others. First, let me start with some challenges. I think we face 3 really big challenges. When we engage business leaders, they tell us the 3 big things right now are workforce. How do we recruit? How do we retain? How do we train? How to connect with them in a whole different world of engaging with employees than we have in the past. When we ask people about their workforce challenges, having trouble finding them, having trouble keeping them, they attribute it to 2 other really big things. And one is there's a lack of affordable childcare, and the other one is a lack of affordable housing. So if you don't have housing, right, you don't have childcare, it's really hard, particularly in an expensive community where your commute time is really long. Driving in, I'll show you in a minute, 72% of all the workers in Orange County every morning drove here from a different county. I was talking to Carolina Inn's GM. He said his big worry, most of his employees come from Alamance, but they're going to stop coming from Alamance when a job that pays them better, that is closer, is found. So how do we keep this place accessible? How do we keep this place a place that local employers can continue to thrive? Number 2 is small business retention, growth, and creation. We do a lot to point the spotlight at shiny things that we recruit, big industry that we might want to bring in, Morinaga, a candy company in Orange County. But we must nurture small businesses, help them grow, and help keep them. This is a place where we export things, right? Things are born here, but sometimes they leave. Some of you have heard me say, Orange County's #1 export is well-educated children. That is our product that we make and we send out to the market. We get thank you notes from New York and Virginia and DC for the well-educated children we sent to work in their market. And the other is small businesses that as they grow, they've had trouble staying. The final is housing affordability. These are 3 big challenges that businesses tell us about. We have launched a campaign to try to address that. It's called a Campaign for a Greater Chapel Hill Carrboro. We're in quiet phase, so I think I just broke the rules on quiet phase. But our goal is to raise over $1 million, pledged over multiple years, to put a little more gas in the bus for us driving towards solving those problems. More on that soon. Let's just a little bit about what's happening in Orange County right now. If we take a look, this is the decennial census information. Again, the ones on the side may be easier for you to see. The things in darker blue or teal are counties that grew in population. The darker, the faster they grew. And the ones in tan lost population over that decade. So it's a migration into more urbanized centers. You see that Orange and Durham and Wake and Johnson is one of the ones growing the fastest. So in our community, Orange County over that decade grew to 148,000 people. That is an 11% over the decade, which means we're growing at about 1.1% per year. Had I asked you to show me on your fingers, when I'm in front of a group and I'm like, show me on your fingers, what percent per year do you think that our community is growing? They're giving me like 5%, 4%, 10%. If you look at Chapel Hill, 0.8% over the decade. So there's now 61,000 people. What that means is if we look at population growth by decade in Orange County, that's the 90s, that's the 2000s. The teens was the slowest growing decade in Orange County since the 1960s. That doesn't feel like our experience, right? What is the traffic about? It's those Chatham County people driving to Durham through and then stopping at St. Thomas More while some parent drops their kid off and flips the light and makes everybody back up to Chatham County. Right? There's a part of our traffic is in and out, but not as much population growth in our community. If you look at Chapel Hill, so this is by percentage. So this is the people growth, this is the percentage growth. It's the slowest growing decade in Orange County since the 1930s. The story we are telling ourselves, though, particularly in the political silly season of people running for office, is that it's out of control, right? The growth is substantial, and it's just not. It's just not. We used to spread our growth out like peanut butter all over the bread, Southern Village, Meadowmont, and now in little stacks of it, right? The apartments that you start to see. In Chapel Hill, in the 1970s, we started counting college kids where they went to college in the United States. We started that. So you go back to the 70s for population growth. The teens, the decade we just ended, a couple years ago, was the slowest growing decade for Chapel Hill. On record, slowest for Carrboro. Chatham County, different story, right? Chatham County is in a big growth mode, but in Orange County, this is the fact. So by percentage, Chapel Hill grew at 8% over that decade. So let's talk about what happened in 2021 to 2022. Let's bring this current to today. So when your friends say how many people live in Orange County, the new answer is 150,000-ish. So we just broke the 150,000 mark. It's a little less than twice the size of Chatham County, a little less than Alamance County, and Wake now at 1.1 million people living in Wake County. When we take a look at that population growth over that 1 year period, this is how it worked out. In Wake County, y'all, they're adding 65 people a day. They're adding an elementary school classroom of children every day. In Wake County, North Carolina, we're adding 6 people. We're adding like 3 people a day, 4 people a day in Orange County. And if you look at it by percentage, this is us compared to some of our neighbors. Chatham, Wake, Alamance, North Carolina, and Durham growing slightly slower. So that puts our municipal population, just to remind you, most of Chapel Hill is in Orange County, but about 3,000 Chapel Hill residents vote for Durham County commissioners, and they send their kids to Durham County schools, and the Chapel Hill police would arrest them, and they would go to court in Durham County. It's a little unusual, right? It happens in Chatham. Also, Cary, North Carolina, is in Chatham. Actually, we have like 1 or 2 residents of Durham City in Orange County. With a new population total, 62,000 people living in Chapel Hill. And you see Carrboro now over 21,000. Now, where are these people coming from? People have been asking, where's these people coming from? Like, you see an apartment complex, you're like, where are all those people coming from? So it's either the new apartments are making them or romantic movies. So this is our two choices. Somebody once told me they were objecting to an apartment complex, and they're like, this apartment complex is going to make so many kids for our schools. And I'm like, apartments don't make kids. Sex makes kids. Apartments do not make children. So it is more likely that our people are coming from romantic movie watching than it is. So total population growth is about 2,900 over the last 2 years in Orange County. Births, you had 2,600 of them. We are productive in Orange County. And deaths, we do a pretty good job of keeping you alive longer than some of you would like. The last 2 years, tough. But we are dying slower than we're being born. So we're gaining 400 people in Orange County if nothing else happens, simply by productivity and modern medicine. In Chatham County, they're dying faster than they're being born. The other for us is domestic migration and international migration. These are net numbers. In order to get 1,600 people into Orange County, it's really like 30,000 came in and 29,000 left every year. It's a lot of in and out. They're not just coming in. It's a lot of in and out. And so the way to stop population growth is birth control and border wall. You know, there's 1,000 of them that came from international. So just take a look at where the folks are coming. When people tell me they object to our population growth, I ask them which one of those solutions do they want to implement.
Yeah.
Seniors are growing incredibly quickly. Orange County is now 15% people over the age of 65. Oddly, it is not a big growth in relocation. Mostly, it is you guys getting older and not going anywhere. So you're 55 a decade ago, and now you're 65, and so this is part of that population aging in place. But Chatham County, y'all, is now substantially larger. So in terms of senior population, we move forward. So there are now 9,000 more seniors in Orange County than a decade ago. It's a higher population of seniors than there are people under the age of 18. It's a larger population. Now, population is about density. The reason people don't like population growth is they think it makes us. Should I move back so you can see? Is it? Did y'all see the Sean Spicer on like see? That reminded me of like on Saturday Night Live when his podium went around. Okay, is that our population density? How many people are there per square mile? Well, that's Chapel Hill. It's about 2,800 people and projects to get bigger. But when I compare us to other college towns, they are radically more dense than we are. Charlottesville. So if Chapel Hill continues to grow as we project, we will be less dense than Bloomington, Boulder, Burlington, Ann Arbor, Charlottesville are today. They are. Carrboro is the most densely populated municipality in North Carolina. There's more people per square mile in Carrboro than anywhere else. I did a police ride-along in Carrboro. It's fabulous, except then you repeat, and then it repeats, and then you repeat. I mean, it's only like 5 square miles. There's a lot of looping on a 12-hour shift. I just want to share a little bit about where people are coming from. From the south is where most families, about 900 families, moved in. But the Census Bureau and the IRS got together on some cool data. You can tell households in and how much money they make. So households from the south moving in from the northeast and midwest, but almost an equal amount of people moving out into those communities. And you can take a look at their average, their adjusted gross income, how much the households are bringing in and out. Most population growth is from our neighbor counties, though, and it's Durham, not Chatham, where people are moving. The story we tell ourselves is once you had your kids and they left, and then you moved to Chatham County. But in fact, the story is you moved to Durham County. 3 times, 4 times as many people leave Orange County and move into Durham County than move into Chatham County as their next stop. As their next stop. I'll send these around. You can like dive into them, and you can send me questions about it, or you can blurt out your questions now. So let's talk a little bit about education. We talk about workforce as one of the big challenges, and so education is one of the key precursors for that. In Orange County, we've got 2 school districts. It's very unusual. North Carolina, most counties have a single school district. Most counties had it, when they had 2, they were because of racial purposes. When we integrated the South, in the South, they formed 2 school districts. They would have a county school district for white people and a city school district for black people, and so you didn't integrate very much, you just created 2 districts. That is not the history of ours. Ours predates that complexity. It's been around for a long time. Actually, the Chapel Hill Carver City School District has had that special district tax for 100 years, since 1919, the district tax. So, enrollment, what I wanted to share with you, this is sort of comparing them to each other, enrollment is down. Remember I said apartment complexes aren't making kids? So when we take a look at enrollment across the state of North Carolina, it is up. 7% more kids today than the year before the pandemic. So I'm just measuring school year 23 against school year 20. School year 20 is the one where they missed the tail end, the very end, the sort of, it's the 1920 school year. And so enrollment is up, but in Chapel Hill Carver City Schools, enrollment is down. In fact, there are almost 1,000 fewer Chapel Hill Carver school kids today than there were 3 years ago.
Wow.
So I said to one of the school administrators, I'm like, are you worried that all this new growth and development is going to swamp the schools and make a bunch of kids? He was like, I hope so. So where did they go? We took a look. It's a mix, but overall in the county, so that's Chapel Hill Carver City schools are down, Orange County's down. Did they go to private school or homeschool? Well, a little bit. In the pandemic, they went a little, but then they've been coming back. So in fact, there's fewer kids being homeschooled today than there were pre-pandemic. So it went up, and then it went back down. Here's why I think. In Southern Village, pre-pandemic, your kid turned 19, you might have moved out, and some family moved back in with a 6-year-old. And now, you don't move out. Where are you going to go? The interest rate's terrible. You have 2.5%. You don't want to go anywhere. So there's a lot of not moving that is taking place. And when you don't move, then you're not recycling families with children. I think there's also people aren't having as many children. Sharing. 3rd grade reading, we think, is one of the most important things. So I'm going to show you a little bit of data about it. 3rd grade reading is important because, actually, any EKC Foundation says it's the most important thing. That if there's one thing in a person's life that is an indicator of their long-term success, the amount of money they're going to make, likelihood of going to prison, happiness in their marriage, on and on, is reading on grade level, grade 3. We teach you how to read up until grade 3. After grade 3, you have to read in order to learn. We stop teaching you how to read. We do reading comprehension, but we're not doing the sounds and the blends. So if you're not reading on grade level, grade 3, the rest of your life is it's harder. Because now you read on a 2nd grade level in 5th grade. And then you read on a 3rd grade level in middle school, and things you can see would get complicated, right? So children reading on grade 3. So here's how we do. That's Chapel Hill Carver City Schools is at 67%. So one of the richest school districts in the state of North Carolina, where a lot of the people are kids of double PhDs, many of whom showed up reading before they got to kindergarten. This is where we are on what's called grade level proficient. They got a 3, 4, or 5 on the test, and this is compared to our neighbors, Chatham, Allen, Manchester, and Wake. There's a thing called college and career ready, which is a little unusual for 3rd grade, but that's if you got a 4 or a 5 on that test, and you'll see those percentages. So 67% of kids reading on grade level, Chapel Hill Carver City Schools. We got to push that up. Our goal is 80%. I think as a community, we should set that goal as 80%. When the whole community decides, then you start adding like 30 minutes of reading to Sunday school class, right? We just decide, we're going to get this better. We're going to decide, we'll cut your hair for free at the haircut place if you read to me, I'd do it. I'll scoop your ice cream for free if you will read this book for me. What would we do as a community to help everybody do a better job? When we disaggregate for race, well, first let me show you what COVID did. So this is Chapel Hill Carver City Schools reading on grade level dropped from 74% down to 63%. There was no test in the year 2020, and then we're climbing back, but we're still not there. This is Orange County schools, dropped from 52% of children reading on grade level, grade 3, down to 39% of children reading on grade level, grade 3. and a slight rebound, but not back to the pre-pandemic levels. When we disaggregate for race, this is pre-pandemic. 57% of black kids reading on grade level. This is post-pandemic. So this is this most recent school year, the one we just finished. Only 30% of black children, 38% in Chapel Hill Carver City schools are reading on grade level. Hispanic students went down and then back up. Black children went down and then down again, post-pandemic. This gap, this is a real problem, y'all. We're gonna watch, this is the class of 2030. The class of 2030 were third graders at home. If you wanna know who they are, we're gonna track them for the next 8 years to see what's going on. This is Orange County schools, where only 29% of children are on grade level. If you're black, Hispanic, 25%. White children, only 65%. When we talk about an achievement gap, what we're talking about is the difference between top performers, between different races. So the white-Hispanic gap for third grade proficiency, this is what the gap was a decade ago. So 2014, the gap was 48 points. And the gap is getting narrower in Chapel Hill Carver City schools, principally because white children are doing worse, not because we've seen big gains in black children. So talking about the gap is probably what we ought not to be talking about anymore. We need to talk about everybody reading at 80%. Orange County's gap got worse. Let's go to 8th grade science just for a second. 8th grade science, college and career ready. We're really proud of Chapel Hill Carver City Schools. This is why people move here. Great education compared to our neighbors. But let's disaggregate again for race and see. So that's black, Hispanic, economically disadvantaged is what the state calls it. So only 45% of poor children are getting the scores they need on 8th grade science. Let me just move to one more. This is my heartbreaking of all COVID statistics is this one. This is 8th grade science in Orange County. Look at that gain. I mean, the teachers were so pleased with progress. That's COVID. Right? So it is going to require something different, y'all. It cannot be the same. What we do if we're going to try to address some of these things that are happening. One of the things is absenteeism. There's a thing called chronic absenteeism. That is when you miss more than 10% of the days. And 22% of children are missing, 20% of children in our school district are missing more. 35% of black children, 31% of Hispanic children missing 18 days of school. It's really hard to close any gaps if you're not showing up for school. We don't have truancy court anymore. There's no enforcement going on anymore. This is going to have to be addressed if we're going to close any of these. We got to get back to school. How to get back to school. Final on schools, I'm going to show you. In order to go to a UNC system school, you got to get a 19 on the ACT. Every kid takes the ACT. You have to get a 19, even to go to open enrollment UNC system school. Western Carolina, Elizabeth City State. So here's where we're at. 90% of our kids are graduating in Chapel Hill Carver City Schools, only 75% getting the 19. When we disaggregate that for race, though, only 31% of black children, though they graduated from high school in our school district, got a score high enough to be eligible to attend any UNC system school. That's Hispanic children, and that is one of the biggest gaps that we have, is we're getting kids done, right? Graduation rate's up, and we've been really proud of that, but we're pulling back the covers here just a little bit. This is our future workforce. Super important that we be paying attention to. Let's talk a little bit about, so put a note in there for myself.
You can go on beyond.
Okay. You're fine. I will say, I thought this was interesting. When you survey Chapel Hill Carver City Schools kids, what are you going to do after graduation? I thought, the story I told myself, 95% go to college. 22% are going to go to community college, trade school, or something else. And 6% into employment, 2% into the military. That's almost 30% are not, decide they're not going to a 4-year institution. Us connecting our employers better with our high schools as a talent pipeline. We just never thought of that as our goal. And I think we have a real chance there. Let's go to housing. For sale housing, we know that it is expensive. This is by year. This is the median. So half sold for more and half sold for less. And in 2022, we had 405,000 in Orange County, and then we got to 439,000, and in the first 6 months of this year, we got to 450. When we look at Chatham County, and then Chatham County, I double checked it, it's actually true, it's the exact same number. 600,000. Chatham County's actually been more expensive than Orange County for a decade. The median price of a home, this is the sold home. This is not what Zillow tells you your house is worth. This is what the actual thing sold. So let's see how those median, I'm gonna go even deeper. So Chapel Hill, Carrboro City School District, then Chatham County, Carrboro, Chapel Hill, Wake County, Orange, and Durham. And this is what it was in 2020. Y'all, just 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, and then this is what it is in the first 6 months of this year. $617,000 on average in the school district. Do that with 7% interest and figure out what your monthly payment is, and then how far you need to drive in order to find something affordable. Chapel Hill, 585, Carrboro, 595, District at 617. Because there's a bunch of houses that are not in Chapel Hill or Carrboro, but are in the school district. I did city limits, not address. This does not count Governor's Club. Side note, in Chatham County, those numbers I showed you, 600,000, do you know what happens if you take Governor's Club out of that? Nothing. Nothing happens. It drops to 598 from 600. It's mostly because of this. So this is the change, this is the delta. The one I just showed you, this is the delta from 2020 to 2023. School district's up 50% price, $206,000. A lot of that is a supply problem. In Orange County, 17% of the homes that were sold were new. Chatham County, 31%. The school district, 3% of the homes are new homes. We're not building any new homes. This is new home construction over the last 3 years. Let me show it to you a slightly different way. This is Orange County new construction per year, not sales, but total. This is Chatham County, and that's Chapel Hill, Carrboro City Schools. 28 homes built.
Now, is that built?
Built.
Built in the last year.
No, I'm lying. This is, sorry. Let me back up. I'm confusing two pieces of data. This is new construction, total. These are sales. So 291 of the homes sold in Orange County were new, 404 and 28 homes sold were new homes in Chapel Hill, Carrboro. But this distinction is substantial, y'all. There's a supply problem. Let's move to rent. Most people rent. Chapel Hill, 51%, Carrboro, 58%. Most people in our community rent. This is what they say the average rent is. The federal government says this is what the average rent is, and they are wrong. It is much higher than this. I see another in the back who's provided the data that we're going to show you in a second. So what does it actually cost? Let me actually just skip to that. So this is quarter 2, 2019 on average, and this is quarter 2, 2023. $1,500 on average for all of the apartments. This does not include a single family home that is rented. This is the apartments reporting into a system. This is the asking rent. What's interesting is Durham and Chapel Hill Carrboro are the same, y'all. The story that we told ourselves that it was cheaper to do it in Durham is not true anymore. This is the rent growth, 29% increase since 2019. This is the average 1, 2, and 3 bedroom. 3 bedrooms at $2,100. Let me just sort of show you that trend over time. So this is Chapel Hill and this is Durham. Can you tell? Chapel Hill, Durham, it's the same, right? So the trend is nearly the same. The good news is when you add supply, you can actually have negative impact on price. Supply happened in some of that 2022, quarter 2 and forward. You see the evening out. And all the rent was going up, but we added some things in, and in fact, rent is down from 2022, quarter 2 to 2023, quarter 2, slight decline. Now, what does it take to afford this? Well, if the average rent for a 2-bedroom is $1,500, you'd have to make $5,200 a month, which means you gotta make $62,000 a year to afford the average 2-bedroom. $30 an hour is what it would take to spend no more than 30% of your money on housing. So you could work at minimum wage for 166 hours a week to afford the average 2-bedroom, or 147 hours a week for the average 1-bedroom. There's a challenge, y'all. The ghost of Christmas future isn't hard to see, right? Take Ebenezer Scrooge, 20 years in the future, scare the shit out of him, so he goes back and fixes his life. Let's go to Vail, let's go to Boulder, let's go to any of those places. When we were in Boulder, we're like, who pays $900,000 for a split-level ranch? And they were like, Californians. Or people from up north. And we're like, where are your workers? Oh, our workers 50 miles away. Everybody can commute. Commute solves housing, right? But we think we need to build more locally. Our goal, 3,000 new units in the next 5 years. We need 3,000 units in the next 5 years. Multifamily, single family, 3,000. Because if not, this is what happens. These are workers under the age of 29 living and working in Orange County since 2008. Just going down and down and down. Yeah.
Where are you going to build them at?
There are lots of places to build them. If it were me, I would use the Blue Cross Blue Shield property, several thousand on the corner of 15501 Business and 40. Perfect place for that.
UNC owns most of that, though.
No, State Employees Credit Union owns that building now, and there's opportunity there. I would build it between Southern Village and the Chatham County line.
Man, you got water.
The water and sewer stops at Southern Village, but it's time to extend it to the Chatham County line. It used to be down there. They moved it in the 90s. You extend water and sewer and allow housing to grow along that corridor. Right now, 800 homes have been approved across from Southern Village, and 150 of them are going to be permanently affordable. We're going to have to find some places. Horace Williams Tract, that is the university's property. There are some options. So we talk about commuting. I'm not going to get into that. My time is short. We are growing jobs faster than people is one of our problems. We are not a bedroom community. We think we are because the people you know drive out of the county for work. But we're not. Most people drive into the county for work. Most people drive into Chapel Hill for work every single day. That has huge implications, right? The county manager, the city manager, is supposed to have a police force that serves the 80,000 people during the day or the 60,000 people who sleep here. And that is a big difference for our community. So worker inflow and outflow, I'm going to send it to you all later on where people come from. The last things I wanted to share, let me do, our economy has been strong, and I'm going to show you wages real quick. Unemployment, good news, y'all, it peaked. That was a recession. It got better. It took 10 years to get better. And then we had COVID. But then within a year, back to where we were. So very fast recovery from the COVID times, faster than anything before. Some people say, well, it's workforce participation. People sitting on the sidelines, not going to work. The number one people sitting on the sidelines is 18 to 25-year-olds. They went home, and it's nice there. Send them out. If they're living with you, send them out back into the workforce. But more people are working in Orange County than before the pandemic. So we actually have a much healthier. There's 81,000 Orange County residents working today. And pre-pandemic is only 74,000. So in fact, more people are going to work. It isn't a sitting on the sideline problem. There's great wages in our county, super healthy. 120,000 is the average adjusted gross income for an Orange County family, number one in the state. And when we look at per capita income, we are number 2. Chatham County is number 1 in per capita income. But we want to make sure it's across the board, so your chamber will be following along things like Black per capita income, where we rank 17th, Hispanic per capita income, Asian per capita income, where Chatham County is number 1. Chatham County is also number 1 for Hispanic per capita income. And then whether or not that's changing over time. Economic development should raise people's standard of living. So is it making these things grow faster? But overall, income has been really good. I know I'm supposed to stop, but I just can't. I'll hit sales tax real quick. Y'all, this is the pandemic year of sales tax. This is sales per month. And that's the pandemic. That's April of the pandemic. It's all of us at first at home, scared of shit, washing our groceries and alcohol and letting them sit in the basement for a week, right, before we touched them. But it barely had a dip. The year after, we beat every previous year. The year after that, we beat every previous year. Retail sales are through the roof, y'all, in Orange County. This is retail sales since the beginning of the pandemic. It is through the roof. Y'all, in North Carolina, retail sales are paid to the county delivery of sale. All the materials to build that apartment complex, Orange County got sales tax because the product was delivered in Orange County. So we're seeing really strong healthy things going on in our community. So taxable sales are way up, and in fact, local government now has $41 million more per year than they did in the year before the pandemic. So it's healthy. It's healthy. Retailers are really struggling. Retail sales are through the roof. Weird, right? Amazon, grocery store sales, y'all are buying the hell out of fish lumber. But some of our retailers are really having a tough time. I will end with this, property tax, since everybody talks about it. So we took a whole bunch of, these are the top 30 most populous cities in North Carolina, their property tax. You can't read it, but I'll tell you what they have. Pittsburgh, there's Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill is 52 cents. So we're in the middle. There's Durham, there's Hillsborough's property tax, there's Carborough's, there's Salisbury. So right in the middle. So when people are upset about their property tax, they go to the city manager and like, what's up? And he's like, well, this is before you just had a big tax increase. It's gonna be a little bit higher, 5 cents higher. But the challenge is when you overlay city with county. So this is just city. If we overlay city and county, it looks like this. Chapel Hill is at the top. Scarborough is at the top, right? Because you paid city plus county plus school district. And so now we do sit at the top. So it is a county commissioner and schools. When you take that and you apply it to the average home, an interesting thing happens. So the average taxpayer in Raleigh is paying $4,300 in property tax. That's the tax rate plus their value of their house on average. There's Cary, Durham, Hillsborough. This is when people complain about tax bills, it's because of this. It's high rate. It's high rate on high value. So this, I just want to unmask it. It isn't the rate necessarily on the municipal side. It's a combo. But the good news is that the commercial property tax is growing. I'm just going to go to one that looks like this to show you. Like this. It was in Orange County. This is the thing we've been driving for at the Chamber. Can we grow the commercial property tax faster to diminish the burden on the homeowner? It went from 21% commercial to 27%. In Carrboro, from 24 to 29. In Hillsborough, from 41 to 45. And in Chapel Hill, 27% commercial property, now it's 34. This is the success that comes from the growth and development that we have. It really should be reducing the burden and the pressure on our local governments.
How much of that from the apartments that are commercial?
So apartments are sometimes called commercial and sometimes residential. Many of them behave like commercial. They collect their own trash. They rarely catch fire. Police don't go very often. They're not making a lot of kids for schools. So apartments are some of that. The apartments next to Whole Foods are worth $100 million. The Berkshire's $100 million. It produces $1 million a year for the county and $500,000 to the city and consumes almost no public services. It behaves a lot like commercial. So I do have time for some questions. I'll just remind you, just your fun fact. This is dentists per capita compared to all of our neighbors. There's a whole lot of clean teeth in this town. We got more dentists. So there's one dentist for every 420 people. Yes, sir. Question. Nice haircut. That's good.
You mentioned the minimum wage, and I'm reminded that if we had tied the minimum wage to inflation, and we did so for Social Security, it would be pretty close to $28 an hour now, about $58,000 a year. Back in the day when we had a meaningful minimum wage, the research on whether or not it actually affected inflation was pretty mixed, not much of an effect. Is there any discussion of doing something meaningful with minimum wage?
Not in North Carolina because of who's in charge, and not in anywhere else in North Carolina because municipalities and counties don't have any control. In some states, you'll see a county sets a minimum wage. North Carolina, that's not legal. And the state is unlikely to make any change based on the politics of a Republican supermajority. Just don't have that in their interest. On the federal level, raising it to $10 or $12 wouldn't have much impact. Nobody's paying that much anyway. Everybody's paying more than that. So you could raise the base and have very little impact. But yeah, the point, it's not pegged to anything. It's 7.25, y'all. If you work 48 hours a week and you never took a day off and you were never sick, you make $16,500. You never took a day off. Yeah.
Two questions. First of all, you changed the name of the chamber
That seemed to be a part of the transformation. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is that I think a lot of us feel that the soul of the town is its downtown. And at the same time that you're talking about retail sales soaring, you said that local retail was struggling. And also, my view, having been here longer than about anybody, is that the downtown has always had turnover and churn.
Yeah.
And it tends to follow the demographics of the community. And so, what's your view on this health?
So, thank you, Jim, for a short question, short answer. The Chamber changed its name to Chamber for Greater Chapel Hill Carver. We thought that was more consistent than Chamber of Commerce, although we do realize, anybody go to the grand opening when they renamed the terminals at RDU? It was awesome. It used to be called A and C. What happened to B? We were kids, there was a B. It was A and C, and they had this big unveiling, and they renamed them 1 and 2. So our renaming was a little bit like that. Or when University Mall was like, woo, University Place, ta-da! To the downtown. This is foot traffic downtown. So foot traffic is as high as it's ever been. 26,000 humans walk around per, is average number of pedestrians per day. So though some of you guys aren't walking around downtown foot traffic is up. Businesses are doing good. The ones that know how to do takeout are doing even better. There's some really neat things. There's some behavior issues going on. As a community, we're not going to talk about it. They're going to get worse if we can tell what's happening across the country. But yes, there is always turn. We're about 80% locally owned and operated and 20% national brands. Forever. It's always been that way. Sephora, Gap, and now it's some other things. That chicken place ever opens. Chicken place is going to open, y'all, the most expensive chicken place ever to be built. But they own the building, so they don't mind being slow. Yes, ma'am.
Aaron, could you comment on the upcoming election? And you have a wonderful perspective from a business standpoint, working with so many businesses. What's your perspective when you take a look at town council, mayor? What are the profile characteristics that you think would serve our community?
That's a great question. Y'all, this election is really unusual. Please
And that's not
make a commitment to vote. Please. Do not let your future be decided by somebody else. Don't let your kids' future be decided by somebody else. Vote in this election. There are two very different camps running for office. One is trying to stop or slow growth with a nostalgia for a way that we once were, or maybe never were. We're kind of nostalgic for the way we never were.
Yeah.
Someone would be like, downtown's got all these big buildings now. I'm like in 1963 when they built Granville Town. Oh yeah, I guess that was a while ago. Or the other they've been big buildings downtown for a long time. There's another set that's figuring out how to guide it, right? It's coming. Where are we going to put it? How do we make our community more acceptable for everyone? For me, when voting, I would use, there's organizations endorse people. People you trust endorse people. 25 elected leaders, currently serving elected leaders, have endorsed one of the candidates for mayor, and one current elected leader has endorsed the other. One of the elected leaders running for mayor has all 5 former mayors endorsing them, well, 4 of the 5, and one of them has all the endorsements from everybody, and then one has none. So if you're not quite sure, you can take a look at other people's views and use that. But there is a set guiding, trying to figure out how to grow responsibly, and there's a set a little less interested, but very interested, and I don't want to besmirch it, but keeping us the way, right? We all think that we're the perfect size when we moved here. But we're a little bit like our middle schooler. I look at my middle school picture, it looks a little bit like me. The essential me is the same, but we change over time. Chapel Hill is changing over time. And that's my comment on politics without naming names. Is that helpful?
There's an election hub on the
Oh yeah, you go to our website, really cool election hub. If you are not following Chapel Borough, you should. If you're not following a thing called Triangle Blog, it is a really goofy name, but really interesting discussion. If you're a Chalk fan, they've got, I think it's pronounced, the C is silent when you pronounce it. We'll just let that sit for a second. But they've got great information that they can share. The chamber is fair but not neutral. I should have said that at the beginning. We have a point of view and I'm expressing it a little. Yes, sir?
What effect does first, thank you very much.
I'm glad, thank you.
What effect does the university and medical school and and the residencies have, because those are people that are here for 3 or 4 years and then they're gone, or 4 or 5 years and they're gone. And is it when, 100 leave, 100 come in, or is it part of this cyclic thing due to the fact that residencies end, medical school ends, college ends?
Yeah, so our university is not growing very quickly at all. So the turn is pretty consistent. It's been about the same population of students for a while. Faculty and staff growth is much higher. But that churn, I don't know if it is having a big impact on that the number one growing population is Asian, and that has a lot to do with our university and grad students and others coming into the market. But the turn of the amount in and the amount out has been pretty consistent over time. Y'all, for every 100 jobs, there is 6 million of consumer spending in our market. Right? So when we have job growth at university or other places, it is generally replicating throughout our community and supporting the local businesses. That's my quick. You have to do it super fast because I see this. I'm not watching, but I see this.
Time for one more.
You can holler at.
Holler at
I don't. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Yes, please.
So is that me?
Yeah.
Is there any concern about what looks like a drain or income drain toward Chatham County? It looks like a lot of the higher income people are moving out to Chatham County compared to who's moving out to Durham and
So I worry about that. My biggest worry is competitive advantage. Why do you want to be here and not there? Why would you not just move one county over? The schools are newer. There's, it's commute and a few other. We got to pay attention to that. We're going to have to grow some of our housing if we're going to retain people in this market. The average age of our home is 1984. In Chatham County, it's 2004. It's like garden tub and granite or formica and whatever. We're going to have to change our housing stock if we're going to keep some of those people in market. Thanks, y'all.
Two quick things before everybody jumps off. Be sure to clean up your table. Don't throw the silverware away today. One more quick thing. Don't forget the holiday party coming up next month. Sign up sheet coming.